Do you think Josh Heupel is vindictive? And I do not mean that in a negative sense whatsoever.
I guess it depends on your definition of vindictive. I don't know if there are any examples that you were thinking about when I saw what you sent me. I do think that he's got a burr up his saddle about Oklahoma firing him. And I think that means a lot to him. I think he's still probably upset with Bob Stoops for firing him as the offensive coordinator, yet Stoops kept his his brother as the defensive coordinator. So is there a pretty good elephant memory in Heupel's brain about that one? I would say yes. Other than that, I don't know of any other examples where I would say, hey, he's been vindictive about this or that.
Yeah, and Caleb, I want you to jump in here. But what I was referring to was the most recent commitment. And I'm not going to pretend to be a guy that can break down players like an NFL scout. But they do take a 3-star out of Oklahoma. I'm not sure if you've heard about him yet. I know that you're semi-retirement. You're pretty up to date. But he is a guy that maybe will be a great player, but Tony Cade Ogamora happens to be from Oklahoma. And Tennessee is also in on several other players from Oklahoma. How much do you think Josh Heupel would like to steal that state of some of its best talent?
Oh, I think he'd love to go in there and get some of his best talent. I don't know if a 3-star ranks in that regard, and I'll say this too. Tennessee in the past has had a pretty decent number of players from Oklahoma that have joined the program. Robert Meacham is one of the more notable ones they've had, but they've had pretty good offensive linemen and some others, another good receiver. But yeah, I think if he could go into Oklahoma and steal a couple of good prospects, that would be very meaningful to him because I think this, I don't know it. I would say there's no love lost between Heupel and Stoops. I don't know necessarily about the University of Oklahoma because a lot of the characters that were there when Heupel was fired are not there anymore. But do I think he'd like to pilfer some really good recruits out of Oklahoma? Absolutely.
So, Jimmy, I'm going to push back where you say that's the only example, though, because I feel like Josh Heupel in 2021 and 2022 made a personal point to hang 60 on Missouri because they didn't hire him as head coach after they got rid of Barry Odom. Do you think that was just him running his offense and the offense was just that good? Or do you not think, at least particularly in the second one, he wanted to make a point? No, I want to humiliate you, Missouri. And then that in turn maybe led to Eli Drinkwitz wanting to humiliate Josh Heupel last year.
Yeah, I agree with the latter part of that, where I thought that last touchdown against Missouri by Tennessee a couple of years ago was completely unnecessary. And I know some people are defending Heupel. Well, you just run your offense. The defense has to stop you. Look, you didn't even have to take another snap. Okay, the clock was going to run out. I was critical of that at that point, and I said that could come back to bite you, and it did. That's why it was completely unnecessary. I don't know if he had ill will against Missouri. He scored a whole lot of points against a lot of other teams as well, right? And kind of poured it on too. So you may be right. I can't say that for sure. But again, I'll go back to this. He scored a whole lot of points against a lot of other teams as well. But the Missouri one was kind of interesting to me, though, because you could have easily just let the clock run out and not take another snap.
I've done play-by-play for a couple of high school games that weren't as bad as that. Early in the season, a lot of times high school teams will continue to run their offense so they can get better later in the year, and you understand it. But that Missouri game to me did stick out like a sore thumb.
But sometimes the revenge isn't always. Oh, sorry, Jimmy, were you going to say something?
No, it stuck out to me too. But the reasoning behind it, I don't know. I do know this, that afterward he did indicate, yeah, we probably could have made a different decision there at the end of the game. He was almost half apologetic for that last touchdown. I do remember him saying that afterward. And look, I know you want your backups to score and stuff, but you had an opportunity to do that. So I just thought it was completely unnecessary to tack on that last touchdown against Missouri.
Okay, let me ask you this question. And that is, do you think that's what led to the Missouri beatdown last year, the game before? And it's brought to you by Varner Ford. 15 seconds from the dealership in just north of Knoxville that will absolutely give you the best selection and the best prices.
Wheel drive, $31,954. 24 Ford Edge all-wheel drive, $37,975. 24 F-250 4x4 crew cab, $54,760. Ray Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
So, Jimmy, let me ask you that. Do you think that's what led? Did Eli Drinkwitz want to lay it on Josh Heupel for what happened the year before?
Absolutely. No question about it. He even
Dumbest question
it.
in a 25-year career by Dave.
He referred to it after the game about that. Now, all right, so here's my question about Heupel. If you had told Heupel, if you don't score that last touchdown and then you're not going to motivate Missouri and you're going to beat them, or score that last touchdown, run it up on them, and then you lose, what's he going to take? So, yeah, that was absolutely extra motivation for Missouri. I'll say this. It's one thing to run it up on Akron or Ohio because you're not going to play them the next year, in particular not on the road. That's why I second-guess that decision, and I still do. I don't think it made any sense. And do I think it motivated Missouri? You're dead-gum right. Would Missouri have won the game anyway? Nobody knows. But I don't think they'd have put a beat down on Tennessee like that if Tennessee hadn't run up the score on them the year before.
Yep, I agree. And I was told they used a totally different defense, that they reworked their entire defense for that game. I don't know if that's true, but you can probably imagine who told me that.
I believe that to be true. Yeah.
But I mean, long term, is it really that scary if you do something like that? I mean, just to give you guys a quick, from vindictiveness, quick thought. Who remembers in 2008 or 2007, the Georgia-Florida game where Mark Richt sent everybody out to get that personal foul penalty and Georgia ends up winning after the first touchdown? The very next year, Urban Meyer left Tim Tebow in the fourth quarter to throw a trick play touchdown pass to Percy Harvin when the team was up 35-3. That didn't stop Urban Meyer from still owning Georgia. And then another example is, Jimmy, you and Dave, you made two. I was not alive, so I don't. But y'all probably remember where Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Faust, was that his name, the last game at Notre Dame in 85, where he called a fake punt with his team up by 40 on 4th and 11 to score a touchdown. That didn't hurt Miami long term.
You know, I just turned 50, Caleb. I don't know how far back you're going there.
I remember games when I was 11. You would have been 11, Dave.
Don't.
Okay, Jimmy, you know what I'm talking about, right? Where Jimmy Johnson called the fake punt when Miami played Notre Dame?
Yeah, and here's my question. Did they play each other the next year?
That's right.
I thought they did. Did they not?
I don't remember for sure. I do remember that. And look, and I will say this. Jimmy Johnson was one cocky fellow, right? I remember a lot of the comments he made before Tennessee played Miami in the 1986 Sugar Bowl 1985 season, where he didn't talk about if Miami would beat Tennessee. It was by how much. And Miami was in position to win a national championship. I'm trying to remember how this played out. Did Penn State lose? Somebody lost in front of them. And
Right.
so if Oklahoma won the game, they'd won the national championship. And he's all popping off about how bad they're going to beat Tennessee. And Tennessee cleaned his clock. So Johnson was a little bit of an outlier when it came to that. But yeah, he was not above running it up, no question.